They have been an unstoppable force. Bayern Munich, the German Juggernauts, they have taken over the Bundesliga for over a decade. Season after season, they have crushed all challengers, until one man arrived and sent everything crashing down in a shocking explosion. This is the story of how Thomas Tuchel destroyed Bayern's dynasty from the inside out. Let's rewind to March 2023. Bayern had just beaten Paris Saint-Germain to advance in the Champions League. Mbappe and Messi left in their wake. In the Bundesliga, they were a single point off the lead with the title well within reach. Any big club would be overjoyed with that position heading into the final stretch. But Bayern weren't. They have a thirst for total dominance that can never be satisfied. So what did they do next? Despite being in a promising position and a potential to grow even more, Bayern sacked Julian Nagelsmann. The young coaching prodigy was deemed not good enough. His record of just 10 losses in 84 games apparently unacceptable at this level. In came Thomas Tuchel, the man tasked with delivering Bayern that Champions League crown they so desperately craved. They did the same thing when they hired Pep Guardiola a decade back to deliver them the holy grail of club football. The move made sense on paper. Tuchel had won the big ears just 2 years prior with Chelsea. He was a tactical genius, someone who could squeeze every last drop out of his talented squads through his meticulously designed systems and strategies, as seen with an inconsistent Chelsea side. If anyone could guide this Bayern team to glory, it was him. Hopes were sky high when Tuchel made a dream start by thrashing Borussia Dortmund 4-2 in his opening game. Bayern went top of the league, and you could practically hear the championship champagne being put on ice. The only question was which other trophies would soon follow. How naive we were back then. How little we knew of the storm that was brewing. The first hint of issues came when Bayern exited both the DFB Pokal Cup and Champions League in quick succession during April's month of doom. Returning to domestic matters, they clung on as Dortmund threatened an unlikely title triumph thanks to Bayern's sudden vulnerability. As the final whistle blew on the final match day, Bayern could breathe a sigh of relief. Musiala's last-minute winning goal away against Köln secured the victory and handed them the title, and Dortmund's inability to secure a win at home made it possible for Tuchel to bring home a hard-fought title, but the cracks were clearly showing. Over the summer, Tuchel got to work, reshaping the squad. Bayern's hierarchy of the legendary Oliver Kahn and Salim Hamidzik were dumped, seen as yesterday's men unable to facilitate Tuchel's revolution. In came a new board led by finance guy Jan Driessen, whose only football expertise was managing the money. But that wasn't Tuchel's main concern. His key demand was for an elite defensive midfielder to anchor his system, someone in the mould of Javi Martinez who could provide cover at progressive passing from deep. Bayern's existing options of Kimmich and Goretzka didn't fit the tactician's specifications. Too attack-minded, he claimed, unable to perform the duties he required. When Bayern failed to land top target Declan Rice or a suitable alternative, the writing was on the wall. Tuchel would be forced to persist with that midfield pairing he had openly criticised and declared unworkable for his system. It was a recipe for disaster from the start. Up front at least, Bayern could rely on new hitman Harry Kane to lead the line following his club record arrival from Tottenham. With the World Cup's second highest scorer spearheading the attack, goals didn't look like they'd be an issue. But from the very first match, a shock 3-1 Super Cup defeat to RB Leipzig, the wheels started coming off the Bayern Juggernaut in spectacular fashion. Questions began to swirl around Tuchel's suitability for the role and his inability to get this squad of winners performing. Next came an embarrassing cup elimination to third-tier Saarbrücken, followed swiftly by that jaw-dropping 3-0 thrashing by Bayer Leverkusen in late February. This wasn't just a random blip. It was the cataclysmic derailment of a once great power, and boy, did the fans let their anger show. It's like being trapped in a horror movie that never ends, groaned midfielder Leon Goretzka, reflecting the draining psychological toll of Bayern's implosion. For the best part of a decade, we had become numb to Bayern's utter dominance over domestic rivals. Now the tables had turned so violently that a changing of the guard seemed inevitable. The main criticism seems to be aimed at the manager himself. Tuchel is, by his own admission, a horrible bloke who doesn't shy away from confrontation. His self-proclaimed arrogance in refusing to adapt his ways has alienated senior stars like Goretzka, Kimmich, and Matthias de Ligt. Make no mistake, managing the big egos and hierarchy at Bayern has always been a delicate balancing act. Predecessors like Guardiola mastered it through strength of personality and man management. With Tuchel, there's simply no filter or compromise. He tells it exactly like he sees it, whether his players like it or not. Thomas is a difficult person but a fantastic coach. Dortmund CEO Watzke remarked some years ago, nailing Tuchel's greatest contradiction. His revolutionary ideas and obsession with tactical details have consistently brought success, but his refusal to court player power means that triumph is often fleeting before cataclysmic downfalls like we've witnessed at Bayern. So, just what has gone so badly with Tuchel's tactics and philosophy? Why has it disintegrated so quickly this season into utter shambles after last year's last-minute title win? The simplest critique is that Tuchel's defensive mindset has made Bayern an utter bore to watch. He has them deploying a low defensive block, paranoid about being caught on the counter. But is Tuchel really the only one responsible for Bayern going trophyless this season and being outplayed by Leverkusen in every sense the whole season? Obviously, the players have their own part of the blame to take, but as we all know, in football, the first person to pay for a team's failure is always the coach, especially when you're the coach of Bayern, a team that has dominated the Bundesliga for over a decade. In a season where Leverkusen has been nothing short but sensational, Xabi Alonso and his boys has been amazing all season. You expect Bayern, with the talented squad it has, to put up a fight for the title to the last match day of the season, the way Dortmund did last season. But this was not the case for Bayern. You expect them to get at least to the cup final, and honestly, Tuchel could have done that easily just by playing the team's second 11. So Tuchel's biggest failure is not being able to create a solid coach-players bond with his team. And the result of that could be seen in Bayern dropping points with small teams that they were supposed to crush easily. He was not able to create that winning mentality that has always been part of Bayern's DNA, that hunger for victory and trophies. And he was not able to find the perfect style of play for his team, a team of talented players. Bayern's attack is definitely one of the best attacks in the world. Tuchel's tactical rigidity has also backfired badly at times, which can most notably be seen through the Leverkusen humiliation. In an overcomplicated attempt to mirror their system, he ended up picking the wrong players in the wrong positions and got his game plan all wrong. When things are going well, as they did in his first few games, Tuchel's willingness to follow his principles is hailed as a revolution. But once that new manager bounce wears off and setback strikes, the cracks rapidly turn into chasms. Arrogance then curdles into stubbornness as Tuchel digs his heels in further, unable to adapt. It has been a combination of both the manager being unable to get the best out of certain individuals and also some players just losing their Midas touch. Tuchel has tried using different combinations, but it just hasn't worked. Ultimately though, wasn't it always the manager's role to motivate and instill that edge into his squad? Here's where Tuchel has just let himself and Bayern down. For the first time since the 2011-2012 season, Bayern has finished a season without a trophy. No Bundesliga title, no Cup title, no Supercopa title, and no Champions League title. The last time it happened, the Bundesliga and Cup title went to Dortmund, the Supercopa went to Schalke, and the Champions League went to Chelsea. So, what now for the fallen giants of Bayern? Tuchel is on his way out, come summer, as confirmed by the Bayern hierarchy. It will be interesting to see who the Bayern board will appoint next, and if they will be able to go back to being the godfather of the Bundesliga.